Hello, philosophical neophytes. If you don't know what a neophyte is, look it up and try to use it with your friends. So, it's now time to explore the metaphysical, the branch or the philosophical branch of metaphysics. You will remember that you first learned about metaphysics during week 2 when you were doing your first Learn Smart assignment. This week, you are going to learn about some specific problems, topics, and questions in virtue of doing your Learn Smart reading. So, you're going to learn about the mind-body problem briefly in the introduction to the chapter that focuses on reality, hence the branch of metaphysics, and you're going to be learning about the problem of free will. So the introduction will give you a general sense of these two problems. However, you will see that I cut out the sections that are focused on the mind-body problem after the introduction, and I have you go to the problem of free will or the problem of freedom, which in my mind should really be called the problem of causality at one level, but I'll talk more about that in a future lecture. Another problem that I wish was covered in the reading that is not covered, but I've covered in the past in other classes, is called the problem of identity, and I might say more about that in a little lecture in a Blackboard created review that you do in the future. Right now, I want to make sure and remind you that when it comes to the task, especially the Learn Smart task, you need to make sure that you are getting the exact reading assignment from the respective bundle pages. I sense that some students are going directly into Learn Smart or the gradebook and looking for Learn Smart task, and what's happening is that some people are reading about things that we're not even focused on. So for example, if it's week 3, but you see a reading for week 4, then you're already starting unit 2 and you're not done with unit 1 because week 3 is in unit 1. On top of that, you're not sure about what you should be reading exactly, because I don't always make you read an entire chapter, but you don't know what the exact pages are because you don't have access to the new bundle because maybe a previous week hasn't passed. So this is generally the case. So make sure that you are getting the exact reading assignment for a Learn Smart task via the respective bundle page, via the respective task page in its bundle. So also remember what I said during week 2 about Learn Smart task. I said this in a video, but I'm going to remind you. You got to think of the Learn Smart task readings as lectures that I myself would give verbatim if we were in a face-to-face classroom. Again, I chose the reading because it's very to the point. It speaks in a language and in a way that you can understand. So I want you to just think of these. In fact, you might even be able to play. There might be an audio option to have the book read to you, but of course you should be looking at the text at some point as well. Approaching the Learn Smart task in this way can help you engage more with said task. I want to remind you to practice intellectual virtue, to manifest intellectual virtue as you are reading through the Learn Smart task and answering questions. So remember, intellectual virtue is defined as the character traits of good thinkers, learners, and communicators. So remember to manifest intellectual humility. There's going to be things that you didn't know about metaphysical assumptions in your thinking, about causality, free will, and responsibility. I want you to be, make sure you have intellectual courage, because some of the ideas and theories may call your own into question, making you feel that making you perceive a potential harm or threat when it comes to sacred beliefs. Intellectual empathy, must have that. You are trying to learn to think like a philosopher. So while philosophy might not really be your cup of tea, you've got to try to get within the mindset of a philosopher. And then each time you read about a theory, because you're going to read about theories that contradict each other with respect to the problem of free will, for example, each time you read a theory, you must make sure you're practicing intellectual empathy to make sure you understand how that theory works. You want to get inside the head of someone who holds that theory. For example, you're going to learn about hard determinism, soft determinism. Your author calls that compatibilism. You're going to learn about libertarianism. Each time you learn about those theories, you have to manifest intellectual empathy because you're trying to understand how someone could possibly think through a certain set of assumptions through a certain set of concepts defined in a certain way to form a view about reality with respect to causality, free will, and responsibility. And of course, intellectual perseverance, because you're going to be spending time using your brain in a deliberately focused way. Therefore, you will need intellectual perseverance. Please, please really try to manifest intellectual perseverance. Engage to genuinely learn, even if it is a little bit long and requires more effort than you're used to putting into. Do not choose the way of intellectual laziness because you're going to shortchange yourself. And philosophy's interest has so many interesting ideas and questions for you. I think that's all I have to say for this week's introduction. I hope you enjoy the reading. You're going to have a nice break from all the technical work we've been doing with arguments. You get to learn about the cool theories in philosophy and hopefully enjoy what you learn.